Welcome in, welcome in. Wholeness, integrity, all the things that just spur us to go into wholeness, right? Welcome in. I'm glad you're here today. Thank you for the watch on some of the last videos and the that we had here, right? Some of the watches that are happening. Appreciate it. Some of the growth, the newbies, the new people have subscribed, speaking those things as though they are, even though they may not appear, but we're creative. We're actually putting our focus and energy on bringing a wholeness to self, but also when we make ourselves, the only ones we have power are ourselves. And that's what we really got to understand. As much as we'd like certain individuals in our life to get what's best for them, and you could share with them, but remember, if they're not getting it and you're trying to force it, you're trying to force them maybe in a place they're not at that doesn't benefit them in the long run and won't benefit you, because this is not going to be a puzzle piece, circle trying to fit into a wrong piece of the puzzle, trying to fit a wrong piece into a place where it doesn't fit, and trying to smash it and try to chip it and push it and force and force and force. The force ain't going to be there, because the force has got to be within them to be ready to receive from that level. And but thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the recently our brother who was here and did a part 1 or 2. Now by the time this plays, by the time this is really playing and showing, he would be in Costa Rica by then, I would believe. Not sure, but I could see that, because yeah, booking out with my videos, just getting ahead. This is a recording day for me. I'm going to do 3 at least planned, possible 4. Well, I'm actually ahead. Thanks, Rumble. Thank you guys for Rumble, the watching and the Rumble, and I'm already got shows on Rumble all the way through the 25th episodes of this. What we do here, the connection is there. We're through the 18th here on YouTube. So this recording I'm doing now will be connected to that after that. So I'm just appreciating and glad you guys are here in these, they used to call August, as we get into later August, dog days of summer. And that was connected to the doggone tribe, or the dog star, Sirius. How many of you guys have Sirius on your radio or an app? That's where it would come, the Sirius stars, and it's called the dog star. So back in the day, if anybody in sports know baseball, they would call baseball, which is a summer sport, they would call it the dog days of summer. And I always took it back in the day that meant it's hot, it's been a long season, and we're winding down to the end of the regular season in baseball. But now I see, because everything's connected to the occultic, even on this. Think about this and you go, how is that with sports? How is it not? When you understand baseball has 27 outs, which is 2 plus 7 is 9, and you have 3 bases or 4 with home plate and 3 bases, you need 3 outs in the inning. So you got a 3-6-9 parallel working in baseball all the time. And it's a geometry sport when you see how it goes like this, right? Like a dome, the stadium's here, and then it goes out like this. It's all definitely connected to that. Definitely, we talked on, so one of the last videos we talked on some pretty heavy stuff. We went into the oligarchy, right? So we're going to talk to something today that kind of goes hand in hand with that. It's a precept, a condition that I first heard a few years ago in Secret Entity. Shout out to Seven, giving him all his props on saying this. And then when he did, which I do with any teacher, I'm always going to go research on myself, and I seen immediately then. But now, even as I'm going into different spaces of enlightenment, I'm seeing how the egregor works with how we have think tanks, how we have a hive mind, how we can not be a hive mind, but also we go into Christ consciousness, where many would say, well, that's a hive mind. It's not. There's a difference. A hive mind is looking to create something away from the material world. The Christ consciousness learns how to create and cause a unity with the material world. Now, an egregor can do that, but also egregor can be set in motion. You might say, what are you talking about, egregor? Egregor. Remember, we have the oligarchy. What is an egregor? We're going to find out what an egregor is today. If you've never heard of it, welcome. See what the thought tank means, or a hive mind can produce in a creative aspect of almost like giving something life and then letting it move on its own after you give it life. You create it, give it life, and then it starts moving on its own, which it can almost be, when I look at it, almost like a Frankenstein creating his monster. After he created it, he let it move on its own, right? But controlled it. When it got out of control, everything blew up. This can happen with an egregor. If you don't have control of what you create, it can start moving in ways, but if you program it well, you may have it directed to the ways that you're trying to do. And we deal with some oligarchy here, we talked about in the last thing. We can do this. This would be the Christ-minded way to create a reality that would work in harmony for them who has intentions from the heart, the sacred heart of their projector, the heart, or used for what we see continuously: power, control, getting over, running game, doing the same things over and over that, do I have to say? It's obvious. People are in this space that are knowers and have taken on this space. This is obvious to us, and stuff like this. When I'm setting this, I don't know, and I'm not going to go into this, but this will kind of be what happened at the Olympics when you went to ceremonies, right? We seen the ceremony, what happened, right? In the opening ceremony of the Olympics, and then the closing ceremony of the Olympics. They presented to you some stuff, both accounts. We seen, what came in the account that kind of, which I mentioned in the past, brought one side to being mad and angry of what they seen of it, of the picture of the Last Supper in that aspect. And then they gave us, at the end, they showed us a guy being lowered to the earth, which was Mr. Lucifer, which is a whole different account when you hijack stuff and then it's presented. But anyways, got a lot of stuff to get into, got a lot of good shows lined up, good episodes lined up, even got some more today that I haven't even written down, but I'm already thinking about it, how I'm going to do this with somebody I haven't used his video in a long time, and actually Mr. Robert Seffer. But anyways, we're not there, we're an egregor, and so let's share and go in on the egregor. I'm just gonna check my time, see where we're at in time. Okay, let's go in. All right. Let's move me a little bit over here. Let's go over here first. And let's talk about it. It pops up in Wikipedia first. Let's go up here to the top. In Western esotericism, an egregor is a non-physical entity or a thought form which emerges from collective beliefs, emotions, intentions of a group of people. So this would be like a think tank, right? You're breathing life into something, a creation that would breathe life, which could be a company, which could be a mindset. And it starts moving and generating on its own, which would be even different governments, which would be anything that you would create that would have movement, that it would move on its own once you created it by this think tank of everybody putting an attention towards it, right? And it's a group of people, so it's a group of people. That's why I said it can be in a hive mind or it can be a united mind that's a higher consciousness mind. Either side can produce it, and as you've seen, it was a esotericism, an egregor of non-physical entity, which means like a building or a business can be actually non-physical in thought form, but what it creates, it moves, right? Almost like what happened with Uber, or what's happening with different aspects of this. It can almost be to the point of, and why I'm using this in this way, and this is again what I say, who's wielding and what's your intention when you create. That's why I put this together with the video we had before when we broke into the oligarchy, right? So I'm tying this to them, but this could also be a bunch of us deciding to come together and make something and create something and get a focus together, or something that would be just pivotally a good, maybe even a great business for mankind. It's a good product, or it would give them opportunities for something to enrich themselves. And that can be a great intention. Or if it's somebody getting something that's kind of really taking your power away, and it's done by the way that it's always done when we start decoding and seeing them and discerning them to a T. Many of us can, knowing though that they do produce things. What we have to understand is quit looking in the physical now, what we get like this. Say, look what they're giving us, a lot of good. This is crumbs off the master's table. This isn't the best technology. I've said before, there's technology that's out there, hyperbaric chambers, where people go in there and see changes in their physicality and healing. There's different technology that actually assists the consciousness, that doesn't try to go over it or subvert it or bring it down, but actually can help assist by creativity. Because there's nothing wrong with technology. It's all a copy of you. But are you decreasing the original, or are you trying to subvert it? And that would be my thing. There's a difference of that intention. So let's go down a little farther. The concept of egregor is based on the idea when a group of people come together with shared purpose. So there's a unity. They can create a powerful energy field that takes on a life of its own. That's just what I'm talking about. It creates a life of its own. It starts to move, even though it's in a field, energetic field, from a thought form of a focus by a group of people for a purpose. Takes on a life of its own. Some say egregors get the most energy and intense thoughts and emotions without the basis of a reality can become unstoppable. And that's when it starts moving, and they've lost control of it. It's going to move. It's going to do its own thing. It's almost taking on that consciousness. It's almost like a robot, right? It's moving in this field because energy and emotions are movement. Energy, that's why it's so important to have emotion, because emotions are energy in motion. So you gave it life and motion through the energetic field you pumped into this egregor. Others say the egregor is immune to enlightenment, which when it flips to the other side of not being used for the benefit of us or people or the communities, or just to be honest, the humanity is us here have seen all the things are just obvious to us, right? We don't have to be convinced, we know. That's why I was saying, do you know who you are, or do you believe? This here is for them who came to a place. It's not really about belief systems anymore. Belief systems create programs in between the functions that can keep you down. This can be something to that. Look how much we have with the technology, but when you look at people in general, we can see a lot of distraction. And the more you get distracted in the technology, the more you start losing your soul essence, soul loss. We've had videos of soul loss. It's just amnesia sits in, and this supersedes yourself even. That you actually give more attention to, and kids will do it, people do it. We've seen these old time cartoon videos showing everybody walking around in a trance like this, when everybody's together in unity, and they're not even operating and knowing their field of creation and their field of energy, what this runs on, superior to that thing you have in your hand, but yet thou does not knowest, because thou has not been enlightened, like it says, immune to enlightenment. The term egregor has been used to denote a group, mind, or collective consciousness, religious community, right? Egregor is a concept from occultist mysticism, refers to a thought entity. So the thought entity formed by a group of people, share beliefs, emotions, it could even be that, into those things of worship or spiritual or religiosity, as you know it, has for, and then even going into the worship aspect of this is a whole different, I will do a worship video of a worship and just kind of see where I'm at on it. I don't give any power to any entity outside of me. I don't. Haven't for a while. Known better. Keyword know better. Woke up to that a long time ago. Realizing that when you're in that state, you're giving it away. You're giving away your frequency. This goes into me as another video we'll be doing, you'll be seeing soon, to the aspect of what that's called when you do that and how this happens. But anyways, it is believed that when a group of people come together, share what they can, create powerfully energy field that takes on a life of its own. Comes like almost like a, let me grab something. Comes almost like that would be Frankenstein's monster. Dr. Frankenstein created a monster and then it took on a life of its own and they had to burn it at the end. And then it fell into the wet lake. I'm talking about Frankenstein, the monster. See, and then when you understand this, this would be when you lose power over the egregor and it's out of control and it's moving in its own and you're not moving it on your Ready Player One, on your thought process, then it took on the life of its own. Be right back. Sorry guys, sorry, be right back. I was just around the corner, had to get me something to drink. Right back. So, how many of you ever heard this? Ever heard of this? Let's see if there's another name for it. The hive mind. Ooh, I like this chart. This is what I was talking about. Collective intelligence, hive mind, group mind, swarm intelligence, the swarming of the bees. Collective consciousness. So, yeah, it's definitely there. Let's go over here to something else. A little bit different. I looked up, we went into the occult meanings of it here. In the occult, egregor is a spiritual entity. Notice they're saying a spiritual entity functions independently, is created by one or more practitioners of magic. The term is defined in 2022 book, The Philosophy of Dark Paganism by Frater Tenebris. The book glossary describes an egregor as a thought form that can eventually operate independently of the practitioner. What I was saying, Dr. Frankenstein lost control of his monster. You notice the word monster is moonstar. So we always give you ditties here. The term is defined, of course, in the book, as a thought form that eventually operate independently. A thought form is an esoteric entity created by magic, which is a spiritual practice that can influence the likelihood of events. Let's push this more here. Let's see. Egregor, I just see generative AI is experimental. Yeah, that's another big part of it. And folks, what we need to understand, like I said, we get the crumbs off the master's table. We're not in the inner club like George Carlin told us a lot, and how even the word exoteric tells us that when we look it up, exoteric and esoteric in its where it comes from and what it means would tell you that exoteric was for y'all. That's the crumbs on the master's table, which is dogma, indoctrination, and the esoteric, which is the hidden knowledge of occultism. Hidden, that's why we're uncensoring. We're uncensoring and demystifying the occult, which is this hidden knowledge, and uncensoring it, which would be the demystifying behind the uncensored, West Coast Uncensored. We present it and say, here you go, here's the occultic meaning that was hidden from you, but we're presenting it to you now. But are you here and have been gone through the proper initiations, right? Again, occult knowledge could be used for bad. It's like a gun, like a knife. Are you just cutting some things up to cook us a great meal? Or are you looking to stab your husband or wife or kill somebody? The knife or the weapon is not the problem. It's the intention of the person wielding, doing the work. So when we look at that, the rises from collective thoughts, emotions, and this is where we have to see, we demonize emotions sometimes. Emotions are beautiful when put and used, and not your leader. Emotions are not supposed to be your leader because they're inconsistent. The emotions could rise and fall like the water. That's why water uses emotional mind, right? The emotional mind is connected to water. That's the baptism of water. Baptism of fire is the huge refining fire cleansing that comes in you, goes through the process of getting you to dross, and recycles again when the dross is there. And this would be the alchemical, how this works. It's all alchemical. You go through the process again. We get you distilled. We even ferment you in the end until you're gases. And then we're bringing out the refiner's fire, because the baptism of fire, now baptism of water. What's the water doing through the emotional mind? Because the thing is, we can be just spiritual minded as heck, but if our emotional mind is still caught up, that's why emotions are so powerful. And we're going to find out in this video and the next few videos I'm doing in the next few things, how this is connect and what process this goes, and how this is used from us and used for us when we can actually make those changes and not obey the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Don't give it away, and don't give it away now. But put them in its proper place when your emotions is serving you, and you're experiencing them not from a leadership point of your emotions where it runs you, because if it runs you, you're in terrible disarray. If your emotions run you, they go high, they go low, they go high. You're in a very bad state of not knowing, because you are being led by something. And then the ego is going to be in there in that lower realm using those emotions, when even both of them, when they're proper places, can be a beautiful servant and leader, but for one of them. But when we are being used by it in lower realms of the 3D realm, and it's just a mass, because emotions should not be because they're a taskmaster when they're leading you. When they serve you, it's a beautiful experience. I've said this on multiple times. So the egregor, so we see it was by dark paganism. So some dark warlocks, probably in business, and them who do these kind of things, which we kind of seems come clear who does it. Goes all the way from every aspect of everything that we use in entertainment, from every, I told you the genres that are all connected to this and how they have this kind of stuff. And then it's staying in a real energetic contract way. And then they'll use this kind of stuff. Very, very deep. But this also can be used by a conscious community coming into oneness and wholeness, agreeing. This is the thing, we need to come into unity consciousness, because we can create something for a unity consciousness. But what's happened in unity consciousness from them who have so many followers to them is when you're dealing with some things that really are always known for their mastery of espionage and getting into your programs and actually putting people there, especially to go against truth, especially when you get a lot more, you go to a certain place of you're actually making a mark on people are watching you. And then putting people in certain places, and then they got all these, and then when you really look at it and you're like, some of the stuff that they're doing and saying, when your discernment's on from a different level, you're like, these cats this has been hacked. They are involved in this, and we see that. Because why isn't the spiritual programs, them from the higher, from them from the lower, creating anything in unity? They're not, they're divided. When I see the division and not either the people's growth lacks or they've been compromised, and there's a lot of compromise going on with a lot of people in this community. There is. I'm always aware, and I see them clearly who they are and how they're doing it, because we can create a unity within. First, we have to create a unity within ourselves. If we're broken, which we talk about here, within ourselves. What happens when we're broken within ourselves? We're split, right? We're really split. I mean, really lickety split. We have this fractions going on within us, fractals. That's why I keep talking about the Humpty Dumpty, your broken pieces that you're putting yourself back together. You got to do you, because the only person you have power over is you. I don't have power over some, a certain spiritual leader in the community to tell them what to do and expect them they're going to do it. As you don't over your adult kids, as you don't over your adult spouse, as you don't over your anybody that you know that even may come to you for some great advice that you may openly give to them, doesn't mean they're going to take the advice and use it and do what you said, even though you thought it was the best for them. They may not realize that, or for their journey at this time, they're not ready to open up this Pandora, this truth or whatever it could be. Some stuff could be lower levels trying to help somebody. Some stuff could be, how do we awaken people? Well, we want to assist people, but we really can't awaken them. But we can assist them, because we want to do is keep our free moral. We want to keep our free will access. So, but when we go into unity consciousness, more and more of that opens up, but also more and that becomes more collective. We're not so individualized as we are now, or feeling alone. And I will get into some videos about that, and even some other stuff about our experience from the fall into a deeper thing, what this even did to us spiritually, this fall into matter. But anyways, let me go ahead and go off this. But this is what egregors would be. So there's egregors, you can see them. Think tanks, people creating something like an Amazon. I mean, people now work there, but this was the thought put together by a collective. And you're like, what are you trying to say about that? Well, I'm trying to say, through this process of this certain company and another few certain companies through the last 4 years, we see mom and pops businesses in the middle class go where they go. So this was done, arranged by a collective, and it created an egregor. The egregor had multifaceted uses of it. Started moving on its own, right? Obviously. For us who can see, that are open-minded, we can see certain things. And somebody asked me in some conversations I had with them about certain people. I'm not going to call names of any of these people that I'm saying have subverted the spiritual community and are definitely not what you think they are. But I'm not going to call names and get into to throwing crap at them or getting any kind of feud. We're here for this purpose: awakening ourselves, coming into unity with yourself. It all starts with you, with your experience. That's why we give this knowledge, so there's actually ways to do this that are not as hard as we think we are when we start accessing ourselves on. You can't fix a 3D level problem on 3D. That would be crazy, like ignorance. It's like doing something over and over, even though it doesn't work. You know that statement. There's a reason you were dropped to 3D, so you can have access to higher stuff, so you can, the solution to your problems above in the soul, right? It's called a soul ocean, and a soul lotion, almost like there's actually a healing in this aspect of the soul lotion or soul lotion. The soul is getting a healing, almost like some really good lotion to get that dry skin and get those cracks off, right? Some really good lotion. The soul lotion is for the problem, but we magnify the problem on the lower levels of the 3D, and the 3D really doesn't give you the solution. The solution would be in a higher realms, right? 4D going even to 5D. How does this work? How does this access? How is this so organized? Which I've really came to see. Think again, last weekend, and I'll close with this, we had a gathering event where I live, and the gathering event of spiritual consciousness was with Sarah, the alchemist, and me and James, who's been on here. You know, we had a show with James went, and we had a great time. James, who works very hard on his businesses and is a very busy married man, said, I really needed this. And he said, this is what I'm talking about. He looks at me as a certain way, which I get in our relationship. And he goes, I could tell by the way you asked me that this was going to benefit me if I went. And he's came back. He's like, I'm blown away of my experience at this gathering last Saturday on the 10th of August. Which, when you see this, it wasn't last Saturday, because this is definitely a future event, because the schedule I have is up already, all the way through in YouTube the 18th and through the 25th on Rumble in the Jungle. But anyways, we had a great time. Thank you, Sarah Alcalde, for showing up, pictures and all that. Everything that was part of this, I will definitely drop some pictures here on that for me and James that we went in the YouTube posts. I think I can draw pictures there. I will. I tried the other day and it wouldn't let me do it. And I'm like, why isn't it not letting me do it? But anyways, it's you guys have a great day. Love, appreciate you. So please comment, share, and like. And if you know any other fellows or ladies that are really open and this would be good for them, bring them on board. Definitely. Love you, appreciate you. You guys have an outstanding rest of your day.